Hey, episode 12 for you here, or week 12, whatever. I have, I think 6 titles to review, a shout out, and a contest, of course. Let me get right into this, okay? The first movie I'll be reviewing is by Severn Films. This is Beyond the Darkness by Joe D'Amato. This is actually not Joe D'Amato's real name. It's something really long. His real name was the one he used for when he was a DP. This guy worked on tons and tons of movies. I guarantee if you watched any Italian horror films, you've seen a Joe D'Amato movie. He did Mrparka, as well as some of the Emmanuel films, tons. He worked on Stage Fright with Soavi, tons of stuff. But regardless, Beyond the Darkness is actually one of the more nasty Italian films. I was surprised it didn't manage to make it. I don't believe it made it on the video nasty list, which actually kind of shocked me. But not 100% on that, but it definitely should have been. What we have here is this this rich billionaire named Frank, and his girlfriend dies. He's madly in love with her. He has this housekeeper who's obsessed with him, so it creates this strange love triangle. He has this hobby of being an embalmer, so he ends up picking up stealing the corpse and embalming her and keeping her alive, preserved, and starts this strange, weird, gross relationship with the housekeeper played by Franca Stoppi, who pops up in stuff like The Other Hell by Bruno Mattei. What's some really popular things about this movie, or things that are noteworthy, are the score for sure. It's by Goblin. Anybody who's listened to Goblin tracks or anything, or been familiar with a lot of other movies, this song pops up in other stuff, but it was made for this one. It's really memorable music, really high energy and creepy. Also, another thing about this movie that's pretty infamous is that it's very grotesque, very graphic, and just overall disgusting in tone, in gore. They show an autopsy in here, which uses pig skin and real guts flying out. And there's a scene in here where they dump these body remnants of somebody who's been liquefied in a big pit of like animal guts, and it just makes you want to throw up. And they cut this together with him and her eating dinner, and she's eating very disgusting, and he keeps picturing it, so he throws up. Just lots of nasty stuff in there like that. The whole idea of he starts to pick up girls to satisfy his sexual urges, and the only way he can get off is involving the body of his dead girlfriend. So he'll be making out with someone and start to unveil the body, and of course they freak out, and that's how his murderous rampage starts. It feels like an Ed Gein serial killer story somewhat, which kind of sets this crazy, weird movie into a realistic tone. But I always remember the movie kind of making me sick to my stomach, and it still does, with the new Blu-ray release especially. But it looks pretty good. A lot of these Italian movies, I believe the prints are shipped out. They do the everything overseas, and then they ship it over, and Severn kind of corrects what they can. It's an old movie. It's kind of a beat up print, but I guarantee it looks better than the DVD and probably the other Blu-rays, because Severn always takes that extra step. On here, on the special features, the one thing that was super impressive for me was the Joe D'Amato Totally Uncut, which was like an hour and 4 minutes long featurette about the director and a lot of his collaborators, and they show clips with George Eastman talks in it, and they show clips from a bunch of his movies, and you realize how much this guy's actually been involved with, and not only directing but producing and being a DP, and he had a really good eye for DP. Joe D'Amato passed away in '99, but he's really charming in the documentary. He made me laugh a couple times. He said, somebody asked, what's your biggest weakness? And he says, probably my modesty. And he says, what's your strongest point? He's like, probably my modesty, or it's the other way around. And it's just, he's a charming guy, and I love the doc. It's really cool. There's an interview with Franca Stoppi on here, and then there's a new, these are all ported over from the Shriek Show edition, I believe, and then there's a new interview on here with one of the actresses as well, who actually played the girlfriend who lays around dead the whole time. But there's this really fun twist in here as well with there's a twin, of course, and it's a nice little fun twist at the end. Also, he takes the body from the morgue, but it's not already embalmed, so he embalms it. I don't know. It's just kind of loopholes and plot holes like that you don't really worry about when you're talking about the Italian style horror films, but it's one of the more grotesque one of them for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are easily frightened, we advise you not to watch this film. On the other hand, if you enjoy the violent emotions, this film is for you.
forevermore. Body 3 times, cursed pain and torture first. Body in a crypt, body hellfire dipped. Body ringing bell, body into hell. No one's life you save, crumble in your grave.
Where did you hide her?
In a safer place than in your truck.
Sometimes I could kill you, Iris.
Just once. I want you to make love to me before I die.
You mustn't speak like that. Death has no power to separate us.
You swore you'd never come back into this room again.
I want to stay here alone with my mother.
Frank, your mother's dead.
So is Anna.
You've got to get rid of your stupid little toy. Do you understand me, Frank?
No!
You will, though. You'll see. You'll do it.
The young girl was reported missing 3 days ago. When last seen, she was in this area. Did you see anyone then? No. Who are you? Police. If you enjoy the violent emotions, this film is for you.
The next one here is Devil's Domain. This is by Gerald Cohn. I've not seen this movie, but this one actually has Michael Madsen in it, which kind of caught my interest. You know, Madsen was in Reservoir Dogs, Free Willy, The Getaway remake, tons and tons of stuff. So he's kind of not an A-lister, but maybe he was close to being an A-lister at one point. Devil's Domain. I haven't seen any of the director's other work, but David Sterling produces. David Sterling is a low-budget guy. He produces lots of stuff. Probably produced hundreds and thousands of movies. If you're in any of the internet forums on Facebook or the horror groups, he's always in there selling his movies. Yeah, The Devil's Domain. What I will say about the movie is it's enjoyable, even though it is completely kind of stupid. What we have here is a girl who's in high school, and she's kind of bullied because she has an eating disorder, and she's a lesbian. So she kind of is tricked into making this pact with the devil, and people that pick on her start to end up dead in gory fashion. What I liked about the movie is a lot of the effects are practical and they're fun, even if they are ridiculous and over the top. It doesn't take long to get started. It jumps right into the insanity. You'll recognize some YouTube celebrities, Shawn C. Phillips or Cool Duder. Wet Movie 1 and his friend Gabe pop up for 2 seconds, but Shawn C. Phillips plays a bully, which is kind of funny to see him pop up in this one, and he looks so damn young he can play a high school student. But the one thing that the movie, I think it will bring some unintentional humor is they kind of like shoehorn in everything. They do this eating disorder, this cyberbullying, this lesbianism, all this kind of stuff. And they think, well, this is, going on in today's world. So why not just, my hair's driving me nuts here. Why not just shoehorn it in there immediately? And everything seems kind of forced in, and they really don't know where they're going with it, but it's there just to kind of seem relevant. And it kind of sloppily gets to the next scene, The acting ranges, of course. Some of it's pretty bad, some of it's all right. The lead got a nice role. She got to do a lot of things in here. It's ridiculous. There's some bad CGI when that stuff happens. And there's a lot of just these, the devil has these henchmen that follow her around and do stuff. It's also about like the selling out and becoming, famous for reality and whatnot, becoming this kind of hero. Regardless, the movie is fairly silly, although I think it thinks it's a little serious, but it's fun at times. I'm not necessarily sure if I can give this one a recommendation, but there's a lot of gore. and it's pretty silly, and it is fun. It's never boring, although it's not great. There's a commentary on here, but it's got to be one of the strangest commentaries of all time. It's by the director Jared Cohen, and he seems really tired or really like on pain meds or something, or out of it or sick, because he kind of is just like droning on, and he kind of talks under his breath a lot. This is a movie, and like literally, when I was watching this guy like a 70-year-old man, and then like I saw him in the other special features like the making of and the red carpet premiere. I was like, no, this is a young guy. I don't know. He must have been feeling down on the weather, because it is a super bizarre commentary. But that's The Devil's Domain. You'll see the trailer if it interests you.
Hey, loser!
That's the Mandra. You damn she-male!
God, I cannot wait for the entire school to see this.
Do you have any idea how many phone calls I just got?
Everything is just a phase, Mom. Hello, Lisa. There's a car outside. I have many names, but you're probably most familiar with is Satan.
All right, now you're really starting to freak me out.
You believe me now?
Oh my God! Just think about what they did to you. They deserve to die. Idiot. I can make all of your dreams come true. You have to help me so I can help you.
Sure.
To revenge. Oh my God.
I can't watch
Don't you get it? This is all for you.
it. I think I made a terrible mistake.
We made a deal.
Oh, no.
When I was your age, they didn't have the internet. You kids, you take cruelty to a whole nother level.
The next one here is I Am Hero, which Extra the Mutilator was talking about. I had to import it because it came with the strongest recommendation from Extra. And if anybody knows Extra, he won't recommend, pieces of crap. He's one of the best out there. So, yeah, I checked it out, and it is awesome. It's a Japanese zombie movie. I believe it's Japanese, or is it Korean? It might be Korean. But, yeah, he was comparing to, like, Train to Busan, how that was getting a lot of hype, and I Am Hero wasn't. But this is based off a manga, so it's Japanese, duh. But it's based off a manga, and it follows this guy who's kind of just very average, and he kind of gets pushed around. He works as an assistant. His wife's kind of pressuring him to do better. He gets kicked out. He has a shotgun license, and if everybody knows anything about Japan or a lot of other countries in the world, they don't have a lot of guns like America. So a gun is a rare thing, and he has this shotgun, and he's kind of like, it's one of his prized possessions. So what happens here is a zombie apocalypse. Of course. And everybody's like, oh no, a zombie apocalypse. But I will tell you that a lot of the foreign zombie movies are still worth watching because they get bigger budgets. Not necessarily, I'm saying a low budget zombie movie sucks, but they get the big budget and they also have a lot of creativity involved as well. It's not like a World War Z, which I don't hate, but it's not necessarily the most creative thing in the world either. But what happens here is he's stranded out in the street, and he comes along a couple survivors, and eventually he ends up in this kind of shopping mall, which feels a lot like the original Dawn of the Dead, which is really cool. There's this kind of power struggle going on, and he ends up becoming a hero, which is really cool. In a sense, but this movie is horrifically gory, very, very gory. At first I was like, this is like Walking Dead caliber gore maybe, but towards the end of the movie your jaw will drop. There is so much head explosion with the shotgun that it's lovely. They do some really cool special effects in here. And they mix digital and practical very well, and they do a lot of creative zombies. These are creepy zombies. They have these weird crawls. They bring back some of their old personality, but they kind of talk. So they'll say like the last word that they were thinking, or the thing that they're most proud of, or the thing they did in life. Like a cab driver gets infected, and he's like, I've never had an accident. I've never had an accident. And stuff like that. 30 years driving, never an accident. And you can tell they're kind of changing. It kind of pushes like it's kind of like when someone gets too drunk. They're their personality comes out a little bit more, or part of their personality, or whatever they're feeling. So there's a really creative aspect in that. It is a long movie, but it flies by quick, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Vastly entertaining, really cool stuff, and I can't think of any reason not to like it unless you just really can't stand zombie movies. But even if you can't stand zombie movies, this one's still worth watching. Lots of shotgun blasts to the head, just lots of action, great effects. Just comes at a full recommendation, nothing to complain about.
형차, 옆에 오래. 감당할 수 있는가? 이분이 닥친 원인 불명의 바이러스.
都内では火災や事故が相次いで発生していますが
충격과 전율의 끝.
助けて下は何ですかよ
전 세계를 충격에 빠뜨린 강렬한 화제작. 600만 부 판매 대작 I am a hero. 지금까지의 좀비 영화는 잊어라.
俺が君を守る
I am a hero. 9월 22일 대개봉.
The next one, first time watch, believe it or not, this is Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits. Yeah, I never saw Time Bandits. It's terrible, right? I've seen Brazil. I've seen Adventures of Baron Munchausen. So I've seen the other two of the trilogy. This is the first one he made. This follows this over-imaginative kid who has terrible parents who ends up getting sucked into this weird time portal. He gets kind of kidnapped by these time bandits who are all played by short people, but they get real roles. They're not just their generic shoehorn ends. And basically, he goes on this series of adventures where he visits Napoleon. I think Bill and Ted, except more serious and more fantastical than that. He visits Napoleon, and he goes back to like medieval times, and he meets Sean Connery. It's just really fun. And the real big highlight in this movie is the villain is David Warner. He plays evil, and David Warner is always one of the best part. Always the best part of his movies. If he pops up in Waxwork, and he's great. Necronomicon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, which I don't like that movie because I'm an adult now. I'm just kidding, but I not a fan of it anymore. But, you know, he pops up in a lot of movies, and he's always the best part about it. Titanic, just tons and tons of stuff. And David Warner is always top-notch, and he's great in this movie. A lot of Peckinpah movies as well. But, yeah, he is just a very evil man. And this stuff that happens in here, some of the, especially with his turning head, reminds me of Beetlejuice. Even his look reminds me of the Cenobites. This Time Bandits was very inspirational, I believe. And he has these weird kind of goons that follow him around, and they're really stupid, and they love mean things and love evil things. He's like, and it's a hilarious movie. But the short people have this great bond with each other. They're really good actors. They visit the Titanic, and all sorts of stuff in it is just really great. Well acted, very fantasy based and fantastical and emotional at the same time, and touching. After I was done watching it, I was like, man, I don't think I've seen that good of a movie in a very, very long time. Love the hell out of it. Great everything about it. And it's one of those movies that comes back into modern times, but it's not like it was all a dream. It's really cool how it ends and how it all wraps together. Almost like kind of like Wizard of Oz, but a little bit more into it. But there's a scene in here where one of the characters, I don't want to give anything away, but one gets very emotional over something, and I literally was like, oh my god. I was getting very emotional with him. But a really, really well-made movie with great special effects and tons of fun and really, really amazing set pieces.
What happens when former Beatle George Harrison brings together John Cleese, Sean Connery, Shelley Duvall, Katherine Hellman, Michael Palin, 6 little people, 1 little boy, 2 living gargoyles, a giant, an ogre, Napoleon, Robin Hood, a supreme being, an incarnation of evil, 12 cowboys, 6 flying cowheads, and a device for tripping through time? Answer, Time Bandits, rated PG.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, 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 very much.
The fantasy begins Friday, November 6th at a theater near you, rated PG.
The next one here is, I actually watched this on Vudu. It is Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid by Sam Peckinpah, 1973. Yeah, I freaking love this movie. I'd never seen it. I've been going through a lot of the Peckinpah movies. I watched it on Vudu. I watched the hour and 55-minute cut. This is the 2005 special edition that came out. There is a director's cut, and there is actually a theatrical cut as well. This is the, I guess, preferred version. I'm not necessarily sure. But James Coburn plays Pat Garrett, and Chris Christopherson plays Billy the Kid. You'll see appearances by R.G. Armstrong. You'll see appearances by Jack Elam. Who else pops in here? L.Q. Jones, Slim Pickens. Tons and tons of familiar faces in here. What this movie is kind of about is kind of like men trying to find their way in and surviving, especially in the world where the outlaws are kind of on their way out. But it kind of correlates with all these old actors on their way out. And it's really touching in that aspect. Bob Dylan's also in it. He does the soundtrack, which is great. And I was surprised to find out that I had seen Young Guns 1 and 2 tons of times, but Young Guns 2 shares a lot of similarities to this movie, and I knew about the Santa Fe Ring and about the Regulators and Billy the Kid a little bit, but this shares so many similarities with Young Guns 2, with the dimes. I don't want to give anything away, that I'm thinking, man, maybe some of this really did happen, or I'm pretty sure Young Guns 2 is just kind of a poor remake of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, even though it's a true story. But I must say that Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid kind of blew me away. One nice little touch about Young Guns 2 in this one is James Coburn plays both. In this one, he plays Pat Garrett, who's the guy who hunts Billy the Kid, who's his former friend. And the other one, he plays Chisholm, who has a great line, "The Scourge of New Mexico. Well, by goddammit, I am New Mexico." Something along those lines. It's really nice to see him play Chisholm. Jason Robards is also in it, playing the governor. But the movie's great. It basically follows both these characters from... it opens up, actually, with the assassination of Pat Garrett. And you kind of see Pat Garrett go back through his life. And what's so interesting about Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid is they had this friendship where Pat Garrett didn't want to do what he did, but he was more worried about surviving and going on with his life and just, getting things settled for him as an adult, because he was getting older and he couldn't keep this outlaw lifestyle because the outlaws were kind of on their way out, which is kind of what a lot of Peck and Paw movies are about, is kind of this outlaw honor stuff. But there's really great moments in here, especially the Slim Pickens scene where they play Knocking on Heaven's Door without giving too much away. But it's just a great movie, and it's probably the best retelling of Billy the Kid I've ever seen. I highly recommend it. Like I said, I watched it on Vudu, so I got to watch it in HD. There's no Blu-ray of this movie. I think Warner Archive will probably touch this one because they did Ride the High Country by Peck and Paw and The Ballad of Cable Hogue, which are both in the Peck and Paw set and both directed by Peck and Paw. So if you can see Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, I would highly recommend it. It's a really great Western. It's got the famous, slow motion and squibs going off from Peck and Paw. 1973. It's one of his best that I've seen, so check it out.
William H. Bonney. He killed 21 men.
I don't want to kill you, Bill.
No, I sure hope you don't, Billy.
And he was just a kid. Billy the Kid.
You take this. My luck's running good.
Patrick F. Garrett. He was the most dangerous outlaw in the territory. So they made him sheriff.
It's pretty fair shooting for an old married man. Just lucky, I guess.
Pat Garrett had just one friend.
Hey, Billy.
Billy the Kid. And just one job. Kill him. Now Sam Peckinpah, the director who unleashed the Wild Bunch, takes a hard new look at two old friends, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. They were legends in their own time.
Times have changed. Times, maybe. Not me. Get to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I hope he gets away.
Well, he won't.
It's going to be a loose rope and a long drop.
Well, I aim to bring the kid in.
And I'm aiming to please him.
He'll track you down, Billy, and get you.
This ain't no time of the year to go looking for somebody.
I don't know where he went.
Gotta do better than that, Ruthie.
I got to the point where I don't do nothing for nobody unless there's a piece of gold attached to it.
Where is he?
Fort Sumner! Fort Sumner.
Where are we going, anyway?
Fort Sumner.
Huh? I know where the kid's at. I'll tell you where he's at.
Old Pat ain't gonna like this.
James Coburn.
Bill!
Chris Christopherson.
Come on in, Pat.
Jason Robards. Slim Pickens. Catty Corrado. Jack Elam.
That'd be me, Sheriff.
Rita Coolidge. Chill Wills.
Yeah.
And introducing in his first dramatic motion picture performance,
Plums.
recording star Bob Dylan.
They say that Pat Garrett's got your number. Or sleep with one eye open when you wonder if every little sound just might be thunder. Thunder from the barrel of his gun.
Bonnie's killed Bill. Bonnie's killed Bill.
Yeah, he's killed me too.
Sheriff Pat Garrett.
Adios.
Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, legends in their own time. But time was running out.
The next one I'll be watching, I don't have the Blu-ray. I did order a copy, import, but I watched it on Vudu as well. It is Soldier Blue. Yeah, I was interested in Soldier Blue because it starred Candice Bergen, who was in The Hunting Party, and she was in Bite the Bullet, which I haven't seen as well, with Gene Hackman, 2 Westerns. And Soldier Blue had this reputation of being a pretty graphic Western movie, especially for 1970 or 71, around that time. I believe it was 70, the year before Hunting Party. But what we have here is this, Candice Bergen plays this woman who was kidnapped years ago, and she had lived with the who is it? It's not the Cheyenne. Maybe it's the Cheyenne tribe. And she kind of adapted all this way and enjoyed it. But she basically is going, they find her, and she's going back to be forced to marry this soldier, this kind of arranged wedding. And unfortunately for the soldiers that are escorting her, they are attacked by a group of Native Americans, and all of them are killed except Candice Bergen and one of the soldiers, Peter Strauss. These two end up kind of forming this shaky relationship that, of course, blossoms into love, and they walk across the lands trying to make it back to the base. They learn a lot about each other. She tells him about, and she's very tough, very survivalistic, and she's a great character. And they learn a lot about each other, and he learns, more about the Native Americans, and she learns more about him and where they come from. And I guess they kind of form this relationship where they kind of respect each other and respect where the other ones have come from to a certain extent. By the end of the movie, of course, it ends in tragedy. They make it to the base, and they're planning an attack on the remaining Native American tribe. And in the beginning, you saw the Native Americans as these vicious kind of monsters who killed all of them. By the end of the movie, you see it the opposite, which kind of is really cool way to dig into this movie and show history. The movie was infamous because there's a horrific scene at the end and the beginning, kind of sandwiched over this love story and whatnot, but the end has a lot of burning and rape and murder of kids. It's really strong, really disturbing stuff. Donald Pleasance pops up in here, and he plays this kind of a guy who sells arms to the Native Americans. He's got bad teeth, and he is real weird, and he sings all these songs. It's fun to see Donald Pleasance. But regardless, this is a cool movie. I know a lot of people probably would be like, I don't want to see a love story crammed in a Western, but it's a well-made movie. Peter Strauss is okay in it. Candice Bergen's great in it. Donald Pleasance is fun to see. And the battles in here are really powerful stuff, really emotional, but I dig it.
Here. Get up here, you son of a bitch! Come on! Well, don't just stand there. Get your ass up here!
I couldn't forgive myself if something happened to you.
Oh, thank you.
Did I see you?
I spit.
Well, how could
You stupid, beardless tenderfoot! I hope you choke on berries, do you hear me? I hope you throw up all night! Oh, hold it. No, right!
You want to hear it? Get out of the way!
What are you doing?
I'm taking off my pants.
Why?
Because it's hotter than hell and they're itching. There we are. Good luck, Soldier Blue. I'll tell him at the fort it wasn't my fault.
God, don't. Not unless you mean it.
It's beating inside us, telling us she's here to guide us. Ooh, Soldier Blue, Soldier Blue. Can't you see that there's another way to love her?
Let's get into the shout out. What I want to shout out today is I want to shout out to Dustin Wade Mills' YouTube channel. The link will be below. I'm shouting this out because he started this kind of to go with his Patreon. He does this show called I Love Monsters, which I'll be appearing in the second episode. He does toy reviews and other stuff. And, you know, his production values are great. Makes me ashamed of what I'm showing you guys in this video, to be honest. He does a really good job because he makes so many movies. He can do production stuff really well. So subscribe to that if you would. I'm sure he'd really appreciate it, and I would appreciate it as well. We're going to jump into the old prize here. Let's see what we got. This is for the Heated Vengeance Code Red DVD. So let's get into this. Here we go, guys. Not that many this time. So I'll just shuffle these around. Who's going to get it? Shawn Moran. Let's see if that shows up there for you. Autofocus. But Shawn, that one didn't work anyway. So, yeah, but Shawn Moran, shoot me your information and I'll send out your Heated Vengeance DVD. There's going to be a cut here because I got to find something to give to you guys. Alright guys, nothing super special here, but it is 3 DVDs. You got the double disc of Bird with the Crystal Plumage, no slipcover included. My understanding is even if you have the Blu-ray, you're missing one of the interviews or something on here. So that DVD, a Slugs DVD, I have the Blu-ray, so I'm shipping out my old Anchor Bay DVD. And a DVD of Slimy Little Bastards, again. So that's 3 titles you can win there. You got to do 4 things. Of course, you got to like the Screaming Toilet Facebook page. You got to be subscribed to my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Mrparka. Below will be the link. The third thing is you got to leave a comment underneath the Screaming Toilet page and say, I'd like to be, not the Facebook page, the actual link that said I'd like to be entered in the contest. This is also where you can ask a question if you'd like for the next episode to be answered. And you got to do one more thing. You got to subscribe to the Dustin Mills YouTube channel, which will be below in 2 parts of the description box. So hopefully that's pretty easy for you guys to follow. I guess I'll go into the Q&A really quick. I didn't get very many questions. I think I got 3 or 4. What do we have here? Christopher Dallier asked my favorite Dustin Mills movie. My favorite Dustin Mills movie was probably Invalid, although I am biased because I was involved with it, but I think that's one of his best put together movies. I think with the story in there is really twisted, and it's a really good drama, and the actors, mostly Christina and Brandon, do such a good job that during that movie, a lot of those scenes, and while watching it afterwards, I felt this is a good movie, you know? This is something I'm happy to be in. But it's an emotional movie, and it's crazy, and it's psychological, and more Italian-inspired, which is kind of my thing. Favorite Criterion film release? That's a tough one. I don't really know, because there's lots of Criterion stuff, but my favorite movie they released, man, I haven't really got to pop in a lot and watch. I have a bunch, but I haven't like dissected every release. I'd watch the movie here and there, but Eraserhead's released by Criterion. I love that one. There's so many good titles. It's pretty much impossible. Straw Dogs is on Criterion now. I don't know if I can really pick a release. They release so much good stuff, and I'm trying to think. Man, that's too hard of a pick. Tim Evans, my favorite actor is Bruce Campbell. I enjoy your take on acting. Please give me your opinion on Bruce. Is he just a cheesy actor, or is he good at his craft, in your opinion? I mean, Bruce Campbell does what he does, and he can play a little bit more straight if he has to. I think Bruce Campbell's a great actor. He's fun. He always does what he has to, and he never does a bad job. I mean, even if you look at Evil Dead, he's not the perfect in Evil Dead, but he's more serious, and you look at the sequels, and they progressively get sillier. He pops up, you know, a lot of other movies just for a second, and TV shows. Bubba Hotep, he does a lot of stuff. I think he's really great at comedic delivery. He's a funny guy. He's vastly entertaining, more of a personality than a chameleon, but that's fine with me because I like guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone, and I don't want to throw him like that, but he's his own persona, and I love that, but I think he can do more as well. I think he's great. Question, how many movies do you own, and do you collect certain movies to keep? I do collect certain titles, a lot of certain companies. I realize they put out lots of good stuff. I don't know how many I have. I don't know, probably estimate 10,000. But I collect, you know, Italian horror films and, you know, horror films and crime films and action and war movies, and then certain companies as well. I had favorites of mine. Oliver Cook, I consider a Serbian film to be one of the most shocking movies I've ever seen. I know this is a tough question, but what is one of the most shocking movies you've seen? Oh, geez. There's tons of shocking stuff I've seen, you know. But one that I know people talk about it a lot, and it always makes the list, but people don't go in depth with it. Serbian film's pretty shocking, you know. The August Underground Mortem. All those movies come up time and time again. But Men Behind the Sun, I think, is a little bit more shocking than those, because while watching that movie, you realize it's true. And it doesn't even get that over the top, the first one at least. But it is true. And it's just gut-wrenching to watch a lot of those scenes in that movie. That's what I'll say, to be honest. And then we have, I'm thinking, even the fourth one, The Nanking Massacre, is really brutal. And these stories are true. It's just repulsive, to be honest. Those movies shock the hell out of me. Let's get into the update. What do we have here? I'll start off with the other ones. We have Caltiki. It was only $15 on Amazon. This is a great movie, Mario Bava and Ricardo Ferreira. I reviewed it. The Sorceress by Jack Hill. Had to get that one. Looks super fun on here, to be brutally honest. I like Jack Hill stuff. The Warlock Collection from Vestron. Had to have that one. I've seen the first two. Warlock 2 is ridiculous. Anthony Hitchcock. Just ridiculous. And has tons of people that pop up. R.G. Armstrong again. Slither. Had to grab that one. Love Slither. Love James Gunn. Night of the Creeps, Deadly Spawn. Kind of feels like it. Dig that stuff. And we have the big Kino. They all came today. I got 12 titles. Cotton Comes to Harlem. Kino. I love the Kino, how they all look the same on the side. Gator. Burt Reynolds. Hickey and Boggs. Written by Walter Hill. Starring Bill Cosby. Miracle Mile. This one was pushed on Pure Cinema Podcast so bad by Brian Sauer, and I watched the trailer and I was like, that looks really fun. The Wanderers by Philip Kaufman. White Lightning. Burt Reynolds again. Certain Fury. There's a fly down here. It's driving me nuts. Trouble Man. The Emerald Forest. My friend always had this tape at his house when I was a kid, like young. His parents had it, and I always looked at it. I always wanted to see it because Powers Booth was in it. River of Death. This got a great cast, too. Isn't somebody in here I love? You got Donald Pleasance, Herbert Lom, L.Q. Jones. Literally every movie I've been watching has L.Q. Jones in it, at least once a week. The Park Is Mine, Tommy Lee Jones, which I reviewed a movie last week, Stormy Monday. And Prime Cut with Gene Hackman and Lee Marvin. So it's a nice haul. They had a $10 sale still going on. Hopefully, I think maybe it'll be over by the time you see this video. But that's my video. Hopefully you liked everything. And remember, there is a hour and 4-minute interview with Brandon Salkil at the end. I had some technical difficulties with it last time. The lighting's not very good and stuff like that. But hopefully you'll enjoy it. Remember, there's timestamps everywhere, so you can jump around if you don't want to watch everything. I should have said this in the beginning. But thank you very much for watching. And again, Jeff Harrod or Harp, I think it is. You still haven't contacted me about your prize. I'd like to send it out ASAP. But thanks again, guys. Have a good one. I am here with independent actor Brandon Salkil.
You said that wrong.
It's Salkil. Is it French? Yeah. How would you pronounce
that
it?
last L, you can't pronounce
It's silent?
Yeah, it's
so what is
Saki.
it? Saki? Is that Japanese? Sounds Japanese.
Korean.
Oh, I'm sorry. But me and Brandon go back a long way, I think. First time we worked together was in that short for the collection, volume 672, I think it was.
Epidemic?
Yeah.
What year was that?
2012 or 2013. What was that?
Yeah, it had to be 11 or 12.
Yeah, that's when I actually was like nervous about my acting and gave a shit. Now I'm like, hey, what's the next role? Can I play a fat guy? No, Dave. You're not even in this one. Oh, just hold the camera. No, but yeah, that's the first time we met.
You always hired as Jesus.
Dustin. Dude, I thought I was going to get hired as Jesus. Did you ever think you were going to keep getting typecasted in a certain role?
To be honest, I've never had that feeling.
No. Which Dustin's not going to do that to you, because you mostly work with Dustin.
Yeah, that's the only... I was like, I only work with Dustin.
Have you ever thought about working with anybody else?
I mean, not against it. It's just especially once school started.
Yeah.
Out the window. Like, it just became, well, I'll just stick with people around here that I know of. If
you
have
don't...
anything going on.
Yeah, you don't really seek anything out, though?
No. Not really.
But you enjoy acting, right?
Yeah.
Did you always want to be an actor?
No.
Did you wanted to be a writer, right?
Yeah, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah, you write all the time.
But I don't know, acting is it's something that you like I think kids always do when you're alone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, dude, like I was a loner. I'd always be alone in my room, and I'd set up my pillows and stuff, and then they'd be the goons, and I'd be Clint Eastwood, and I'd shoot them. Pow, pow, pow.
Did you ever used to do the one thing where nobody was home right when your parents leave? You act like you're in like Vietnam, and you're like, shh. And like you're doing front flips on the couch and stuff, and you're like, get down, Sanchez!
I would, but it'd be like space themed. It would always be space themed. Like the house would be the ship, and each room would be a corridor, and like the kitchen would be the mess hall, and like I would always treat it like Alien.
Aliens or Alien?
Alien.
Who were you in Alien? Were you Harry Dean Stanton? Ripley?
I don't think. No. Put on my mom's bra. Walk.
Did Ripley even wear a bra? She did.
Yeah, I think maybe once.
At the ending.
My parents come home, they just see me in underwear. Like mom in women's underwear.
You're like wrestling with the dog. Like it's like licking your face. Like, ah! Don't shoot! It's Blood's acid! It's Blood's acid!
Got green jello, just spraying it everywhere.
She's like, police? We had a break-in. No survivors.
But no, like, no, acting's fun. Like, especially once I got in with Dustin.
Yeah.
Like, once because he and I had almost like, actually, a cool story I don't think a lot of people know is like the thing that connected us right away was a movie called Nothing to Lose.
I knew that.
You knew, yeah.
Because I get it confused with Money Talks. I'm like, I don't know. It's like one of those off-put, like, weird buddy comedy things.
Yeah. And I remember, like, I can't remember the logistics of how that conversation started, but he was like, I remember he brought, man, no one ever talks about Nothing to Lose. And I was like, Nothing to Lose? I love that movie.
That's the one with,
and we were just like,
Chris Tucker?
No,
Martin Lawrence. See, I gotta get confused again. Who's the other guy? Is it Tim Robbins or John Cusack?
Tim Robbins.
I swear to God, Money Talks.
It's one of those white guys.
And Nothing to Lose. Those two movies confuse the crap out of me because they both have it's like a pair of those four actors, and they're two branched off. I can't remember who's who.
And then I can never remember his name, but he's the doctor in the smart-ass doctor in Scrubs.
Oh, John C. McKinley.
That's right.
I just talked about him today. Somebody brought up Surviving the Game. And he's like, the guy they take in the cave. I was like, John C. McKinley. I love him. He's always such a good actor.
See, I always I have trouble with his name because I always have John C. in my head, but then I always want to say Riley.
Well, they're both in Vietnam movies, which is funny because John C. McKinley was in Platoon. He played Ed O'Neill, or Red O'Neill, or Red. And then I think it was Red O'Neill. And then John C. O'Reilly played in Casualties of War.
Okay, I haven't seen either of those.
They're both pretty good. Brian De Palma did Casualties, and Oliver Stone did Platoon.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, but right on.
Right on.
I used to be a guy. Did I ever tell you about that guy at college? He goes,
No.
right on. That's all he said. No, that's somebody else I know. But he said something. There's a guy I know who always says, right on.
Right on. I do that when we're like messaging. To me, it's my go-to response to being like, I'm cool, I'm good. Right on.
Sometimes I'll just like, if there's like a lot, and somebody like writes like 6 paragraphs, I'm not trying to be a dick, I'm like, cool. You're just like, or just thumbs up. Okay. It's like too much information. Like, and they're like, write this giant thesis, and you're just like, okay. You're like, or like when somebody writes you this real like broken message that doesn't make any sense, it's just.
Or if you want to be really enthusiastic, you make that thumb really big.
It's like the giant. I don't even know how to do that. That's how bad I am.
I think you just hold it down.
I see.
Until it gets real big.
The next time you guys like see a group message, it's just me with giant thumbs. I'm at home like all excited about it. Yeah, but I know that you like there's the 2 classes of acting. They would be like the put your Strasbourg, and they say put your life into it, and then there's the theatrical kind of style of acting. I've always had you paired as a little bit of put your life into it, but mostly a theatrical actor. Like you're like a Vincent Price. You're there to entertain and like just like be really big and have just I don't know, make sure that everybody is seeing the performance.
Yeah, that's some of my favorites. Well, when you told me before, because I asked you, I was like, is there anything I need to prepare for? And you're like, you're going to say that you're going to ask about some influences.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch base on 3 actors who I studied a lot as a kid. And not because I wanted to be an actor. There was something interesting about their faces and how they used them.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell was one.
Okay.
Jim Carrey, of course.
Yep.
And the one that I never knew of until because we had this weird channel called Channel 6, and for some odd reason we got Canadian shows and BBC shows.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Is it Michael Ironside?
No, Rowan Atkinson.
Oh, Mr. Bean?
Yeah.
You name dropped him he's Mr. Bean. I think the only movie I've ever seen Mr. Bean pop up besides a Mr. Bean movie is the one with Charlie Sheen. What's the parody?
Hot Shots?
Hot Shots Part 2, Part Deluxe or whatever.
Part 2.
Yeah. He's in that one, isn't he?
Yeah,
like
and he's also in Rat Race.
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with Bean, but he's very. I guess he's like an old school British like comedian. Does a lot of like comedy.
Oh my God! I remember when because Mr. Bean was on Channel 6, and then Black Adder was another show they showed, which you can find both now on Hulu. Sponsors.
Pay me money, Hulu. I need it. I need more DVDs.
But I remember everything he could do with his face, and I'm like, that's so interesting. So I would always try to mimic him in the mirror, and I would just be like,
dude, I love
just everything he did
as a kid, but when I got older, he just got annoying. But I don't know why that is. Like,
well, I think it's because like I understand what you mean, because the more movies he did, the older movies in his filmography they're just not as interesting. I think like he didn't put himself out there as much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he didn't allow himself to get, and I think that probably has to do with age or just being like, I don't want to fucking do The Mask again. Like I don't want to do 4 Ace Ventura
same
movies.
thing, yeah. But I remember I like movies where he has a reason to be crazy. Like The Mask. I love The Mask because it's justified. That's why The Mask is so fun. And plus seeing Peter Green get to play the bad guy too at the end.
Yeah.
Always time. I love that.
One last kiss.
My friend used to always screw with me when we were playing video games. He'd like pause the game when he was losing, and he'd always do that. There's always time. But he'd change the last line, like 10 years old. He's like, for one last Burger King kids meal. And it always made me cry. Like he would like unpause the controller and like get back in the ring and knock me out, and I'd be like, oh. But it was worth it. But yeah, I noticed that you were definitely like a Jim Carrey, but not annoying Jim Carrey.
Oh.
Like energetic Jim Carrey.
That's why, like, when Dustin gave me the script for Zombie A-Hole.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, essentially it was going to be 3 roles.
Yeah.
He was like, I want you to play twins. And that was his brilliant way of utilizing time and money.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was genius. Like I said, I reviewed that before I knew Dustin, or I met him, and I was like, well, this guy really knows how to stretch a buck because double the nudity, double the characters, double the kills.
Exactly. So it was cool to like, you know, to play Castor and then Pollux, and then to be like, oh, now I'm the character I really want to be, the zombie.
Yeah.
The zoot suit wearing zombie.
That was like one of his biggest, and it took the longest to make for him.
Yeah, and the longest mostly because of me and my goddamn appendix.
Yeah, you almost died.
I don't know if I almost died. I like to say
Almost
that just
dead.
just to be that guy in the party. I almost died.
I almost died filming the classic. You probably haven't heard of it. Zombie A-hole.
I was the zombie.
I was a zombie, and I was the twin.
But yeah, that was man. It's still one of my favorite movies, just because of it's everything in the kitchen sink he threw in.
There's a lot in there. It's really long.
It's great.
It's definitely got like a, I don't want to say psychobilly, but it's got like a small town redneck feel. It's definitely got like the southern fried justice kind of appeal to it, which I just thought of now. You know.
Yeah.
Definitely feels like a southern movie.
Well, it's got such a cartoonish behavior, and you know, like cartoons are my world. Like I just love cartoons.
Speaking of cartoons, have you seen Free Fire yet?
Not yet.
It's not a great movie, but I think it's pretty cool, and it's so much hard work into it. But there's a character in it. Who's the guy? Somebody's mowing their lawn. Sorry, guys, can't do anything about that. But Shawn Copley, or how do you say his name, from District 9?
I think you said it right.
He is a freaking cartoon in it.
Nice.
Like everybody's from the 70s, they're wearing sideburns, he's got glasses, he's like, I do! It's just nuts. Like, I bet you'll love the character. I didn't love all the characters, but Cillian Murphy's in it, he's great. But just watching that guy, I was like, oh, that's a Brandon character. And I was watching. There's always characters I see in movies like, that's a Brandon character. Like Wormwood, the crazy doctor, is like, that's a Brandon character.
See, I love that shit. The Cardinal from Easter Casket.
Oh,
like,
that's...
It's you know, I remember Dustin be like, it's just one scene, buddy. He was so apologetic. He was like, is that okay? I'm like, no, man, I like this. It's cool.
Yeah, it's fun doing the one scene because you come in and steal the show and get to walk home, and you're like, and I don't even really gotta do much.
Well, I think that's also when I started school.
Yeah.
Or getting close to. So I mean, my time was starting to get. But see, like with Rip, like the character of Joe, I'm starting to gravitate towards those characters more.
Oh, like, those are like the best characters. Those are always my favorite actors. Yeah. They're like the character actors, the guys that come in for a minute. And occasionally they'll star in a movie that's really bizarre, like Steve Buscemi in Trees Lounge or something. But usually they're just like the side characters you pop in. And they're always like, everybody remembers them. It's like, oh, that guy. Like, that guy is always the best guy. Those little pieces like Nicholas Worth or Michael Ironside even popping up.
Yeah.
And to a bigger extent, like Bill Paxton, but he kind of crossed over into like the bigger roles. But those guys are always the best.
Yeah. And not that I would ever be against a leading role.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's so much more range you can put into a character like that.
Well, you got a lot of time to learn that lines and the movement. You're, like, I noticed you... I'm a guy who gets the lines, and I'm like, I'm going to learn the lines, and then I'm going to leave it at that and kind of get a voice and learn the lines and go for it. You're like, I'm going to learn every mannerism in every line, so you like say a line and you'll do a movement.
I actually, my favorite thing to do is, I actually don't learn the lines actually till a week before.
Yeah.
Everything else I do, like, so like for instance, Joe, like I knew that he was very, you know, he had like almost like a southern sensibility to him.
Yeah.
Just that very like loner kind of drawl, you know, that southern drawl.
Yeah,
so I was like, I took all that information because I grew up in a redneck town. So I'm like, oh man, all I have to do is think back to a mechanic I remember seeing, and the way like just the hunch,
poor posture,
you know, like how always like even though there was no dip in their mouth, like there was
they're
like
just so used to it.
They were just
probably dipping their tongue in that hole that tobacco caused.
Yeah, or sucking the teeth at.
Sucking chicken out of their teeth. No, but yeah, you definitely. We're talking about Rip, which is a movie coming out from Dustin. We all everybody in this area had a role in it, and it was a blast. It's like a crime movie. But have you ever? Speaking of mechanic, greasy mechanic, have you ever seen U-Turn?
No, I know. I the cover seems familiar.
Billy Bob Thornton plays a character like that.
Okay, cool.
He plays like this weird kind of greasy.
That's a great.
And
those kinds of roles are good for him.
Oh, they're fun. Billy Bob's always great. He's one of those guys that when he pops up in a small role, it's usually better.
Yeah. And one of the things too, I think one of the first like, well, you know, it was probably sooner than that. One of the first big monologues I can remember being given was for Neon Doom.
Yeah. As
Silas Ripper, and he's in his cell and he's talking about, you know, I'm trying to remember now. I'm going to show my card here and be like, oh God, I don't remember the script.
Well, I mean, that was like 8 years ago. That was literally like 3 years ago. And we filmed that. Still not out with all the digital effects.
I can't remember now if it was something that he actually did or if it was a dream. I can't remember. But anyway, like I got to do this long monologue part, and I remember when I looked at it at first, I was like, oh my God, like the range that you could do with each part. And I can't wait for people to see that moment. Like, it's a moment that's one of my most proudest moments, because I was like, I put so much thought and time into that monologue.
What was the most challenging character you had to play?
Probably Skinless.
Yeah?
Yeah. Only because, like, well, there was, as you know, there was additionally a whole other movie filmed before the one.
Yeah.
And it was just in that corner in Dustin's apartment. It's pretty much the entire movie. Just because of the costuming, being when you're a leading character, especially since it was just me and Aaron a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Just pages and pages of dialogue, and especially like science mumbo jumbo. Like you have to just try and remember.
Words are tough. Some of those words, like we were talking about the sodium whatever word it was, and nitrate, amtrate. I was like, I don't know what that is, but also physically that had to be one of the hardest roles because it was like 120 degrees in that attic, and you were in that nasty rubber suit.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you? You probably know, but when you were killing me in that movie, some like nasty blood from your face and your mouth fell into my mouth, and I was like,
it was at that moment you wanted to kill me.
It's not your fault. I wanted to kill Dustin, but
yeah, I mean, if it doesn't seem like I'm in much now, it's a personal choice. It's just there's other things I want to focus on. Like I'm trying to get some writing things going and
a comic too as well.
Yeah, and I've been connecting with a couple of teachers that actually like what I've written, and they're trying to try to get some of my poetry and some of the short fiction out and get it to some outlets. So that's kind of cool.
Well, that is cool. What you post on a blog site, don't you? Some of your fiction?
Not anymore. That was just the monster stuff. Like a personal blog. No.
You had some stuff posted on there. Some of the poems I read recently.
Well, that's through. I think that's through 101 Words.
Yeah.
That's just I think they're starting to get to a point now where they can pay people, but they're still like a free enterprise. So you just go in and you just submit, but they, Twitter, and they just take it out to all the social media places that they can.
That's cool.
Yeah, they at least do that.
I like that fishing one.
Oh, Lady Lake.
Yeah, I haven't read all your stuff, but if I see them, I catch them. There's so much stuff on your feed, but I like that one. Man, I really wish I could go fishing.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Symptoms. If you've seen that movie. It's like a British movie, actually starring Donald Pleasant's daughter. And
see, again, I know of it, never seen it.
Well, I mean, there's so much stuff. I'm the same way. Like, I've been catching up on a lot of stuff I hadn't seen. Like, I watched Foxy Brown and Coffee this week. I never saw it. How bad is that?
I've seen Foxy Brown. I haven't seen Coffee.
Terrible. Like, I haven't seen these. It's just, like, embarrassing. Like,
yeah.
But you know how it is. You can't, not time for everything.
Yeah.
But, you're also working on a comic with Court, right?
Yep.
Courtney
Wyatt. Yep, Wyatt. And then Zach Lyons, who's pretty much a close friend with Jackie, you've seen people who were...
Jackie McNown is in Night of the Tentacles and Halloween Spookies.
Bath Salt Zombies.
Yeah, and her name was Torment.
Yeah.
She's in a bunch of stuff.
So she originally started off on the comic, but then, out of mutual respect, we realized that her art just didn't match well with Court's.
Yeah.
And she understood that. She was like, thank you for being honest, but I think I have someone else who can match with Court better and who's really good.
I remember some of it being like almost like Tim Burtonish or like Invader Zimish. Does that sound right or no?
It's very surrealistic and almost like I'd actually put her in the category of like Dolly or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that it's very existential.
I see. I'm not like an art critic or anything like that. I mean, I guess I'm a film critic, but like the only thing I knew Dolly is the movie and the slice of the eye with the moon.
Oh yeah.
What is that called?
Something.
Yeah, it's like it's not very long, but I have seen it.
It's like UNCHIEN.
We're stupid.
I like film. I didn't get one of them big city educations. I went to a community college.
I know him for a lot of his like his famous painting.
Yeah.
With everything melting in the that guy.
The melt guy. You know what else? Melt, like that sandwich place serves them delicious grilled cheese.
It's that you see that painting in every single coffee table book. You know what I mean?
Coffee table books. I don't read. Reading's for idiots. I'm just kidding. But you write a lot of stuff, and what would you say your main inspiration for writing is? Like, I noticed some Stephen King in there. I know you're a big King fan, like to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just I actually don't have a favorite author, to be honest. It's just I like to. It's almost like actors. I just pick and choose who has done great things. Like one of the first big inspirations to tell me, well, one of the first things to tell me that I can make writing funny and quippy is Ailey Martinez's Gil's Off-Right Diner.
Yeah.
Oh my god, man. I remember I picked that up when I was younger. It came out in 06, I believe, so I was 16. And it was just like, it was one of the first times I ever been shown that, oh, a werewolf and a vampire can be together and they can be funny.
Didn't you see Underworld? That's hilarious. I'm just kidding.
But it was how it was written.
Yeah.
And it was just off the wall. It was bonkers. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I like reading things like, Isaac Asimov. You know what I mean? Or J.G. Ballard. Like, just the really in-depth stuff. So it's a mixture of two. H.P. Lovecraft, of course.
H.P. Lovecraft, yeah, of course. He's one of the best.
It's just, I don't know. I pull from everything. And I think
That's how
like
it
what a
should be.
filmmaker does.
Well-
like he just pulls from every movie or every director that he likes.
Dustin always said if you want to make horror films, or films in general, but a lot of horror film directors, they don't watch other movies.
Yeah.
You got to watch all sorts of different movies to pull different inspirations from other places. If you keep watching the same horror movies, everything you make is going to be the same crap.
Right, and it's the same with writing.
Yeah,
like you want to be you want to be a horror writer. Cool. You can't just read horror. You got to go out and read romance, read westerns, because you can pull inspiration from all those genres. So I always try to do that. If there's I just picked up a romance book the other day. Actually, it's called Radiance, but it involves film.
Yeah.
But it's about two people trying to come together with film, and I'm like, it's interesting enough. I'll read it.
Well, I mean, that's like a kind of a way for film buffs is like, going through everyday life, it's very hard to connect sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you become selfish sometimes. You keep saying, like, oh, this is just like that one movie. Or you, bring it back. Like, have you seen this? And name some obscure movie. Like, you don't realize that film fans in everyday life, and then you go, to work, and you try to talk about movies. Sometimes you're just like, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the comic, which is called Max Crusade, it's pretty much the same thing. I pulled from all the comics I love, like Judge Dredd. Dustin, I remember when Dustin introduced me to Scud, the Disposable Assassin. Whoa, thing is amazing. And then everything from Doug TenNapel, like Iron West and Ghostopolis.
See, I'm not super familiar with comics anymore at all, especially the zany stuff. When I was a kid,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I bought Conan comics because there's monsters on the front. Did you read them? No, I kept them in their packages. How much are they worth now? $0.25 a piece.
Well, those old 50s and 60s, like the EC era, man. Like,
the
shit's
EC comics are
amazing.
cool. I only know, I've seen every episode of Tales from the Crypt. I've seen the movies and whatnot, and I've seen here and there pictures. But I love that kind of irony and just desserts. I'm all about revenge in movies because I guess I don't get any in real life. So watching it in movies is very cathartic, and I think just desserts is always so perfect in that stuff.
I think if someone had to ask me what comic I read the most, it would have to be Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
And it's something about Mega City 1 is a complete shithole, but it's amazing. It's some of the best villains, some of the best characters. Like Judge Death is amazing. To me, that's where I imitated a lot of Max Crusade, because the world of Crusade is very oddball. It's just shit's all over the place. The Statue of Liberty gets blown up, and the head lands in the middle of the city. And instead of cleaning it up, it gets turned into a nightclub.
That reminds me of the character in Marvel Comics. What was the big celestial being that died, and it's just a big head floating in space, and all the people go through it all the time.
Yeah. It's was that in Guardians?
It wasn't Guardians, but that
Yeah,
character's been there, I think, previously. But saying about the comics, this is all the bad guys and stuff. A hero's only as good as his villains. And if you don't care about the villains, you don't care about the hero. You don't care about anything.
This was an idea I started in 10th grade, and I started with villains. Yeah. I came up with a whole bunch of villains. I came up with my first villain. I came up with, his name's Blubber Joe, and he's a redneck out hunting, and an alien symbiote comes and infects him and blows him up, and he's fat, and he throws up aliens every 5 minutes. So that's how the alien.
Genius, though.
That's how the alien spreads its species.
Like Slither style.
Yeah, exactly.
But you did that before Slither.
Yeah. So it was just like
James Gunn
coming for you.
Want that paycheck?
But he's held up in his shack, and he has a wife that feeds him KFC all the time. That's how he gets fed. And the aliens, that's how they get in.
That sounds a lot like Slither, but it's. It also sounds like Night of the Creeps, but but more like Slither, to be honest, with the KFC and everything.
But instead of him bursting, I wanted to be like that. He's a constant generator of
constant
aliens.
Threat, honestly.
Yeah, he's just and a new alien gets born, and I kind of imitated the aliens off the xenomorphs. They grow quick, and then they run off into the woods.
So who are some of your favorite villains in comics and movies in general?
I know. Okay, I'll pull one from the Batman world, and Firefly has always been a favorite of mine. I've always had a thing for villains that don't get a lot of spotlight.
Yeah.
But villains who can cause a lot of shit. Like, they can destroy a lot of things, but no one's ever given them the due.
Yeah.
Firefly, he could destroy Gotham. He could break Bruce down and destroy everything, but no one's ever done it.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that character. Judge Death from Judge Dredd, I think, is an amazing character. I don't know, man. There's a lot.
What about some film ones? Any film ones?
Film villains. Nothing like really rings the bell. Like
No?
nothing like a favorite. No.
No.
Not that I can think of. There's probably a lot.
Oh yeah.
But I'd have to sit down and write it. Like I'd have to come up with a whole bunch. Yeah.
What was actually the most rewarding acting experience you had?
Well, we were at a convention, and I briefly dressed up as the zombie.
Yeah.
And whether they seen the movie or not, it was cool for people to point me out and be like, I'm like, oh yeah, sweet. And so it was cool to like always get, people
Stay in character.
Right. And then Cinema Wasteland, the first time I went, there was enough people that have seen. Dustin had made enough movies by then where he had a nice chunk. He had a nice chunk to bring with him. So people were like, "Oh, Brandon, yeah, you were great in that. You were cool in that."
I remember somebody recognized you from Easter Casket.
Yeah.
Right away. Yeah. They said that. They're like, "Oh, you were great in that movie." I remember that because I was there.
Oh, I don't remember. Sorry.
That guy's really mad right now. No, but that's always cool.
He was waiting for this moment
to get rewarded for that kind of stuff.
No,
You always do an excellent job. What was have you ever gotten a script and looked at the lines and like, I notice with me if I get a script and I start reading the lines at first I'm like, I can't do this, and I look at somebody else's character, it's like, I'd rather do that. And then like after I read the lines like 400 times, I'm like, oh, now I don't want to do anything else. It's like I know this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know this character now. Have you ever gotten intimidated by a character?
Actually, yeah. The character in Snuff It.
That one I remember there was some weird dialogue in that.
Only because sometimes, there was a moment where Allison Egan's in that as well.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where I berate the shit out of her, but it was all improv. Like Dustin was like, I'm just gonna have you guys just come up with something on the spot, and I'm like, I do not like improv.
I love improv.
See, I'm just terrible at it. I'm just like, because my brain's always going a mile a minute, and I'm like, well, that could work, or that could work. No, that's going to sound stupid. Don't say that. And before I know it, it's already been 5 minutes, and Dustin's like, cut, motherfucker, you haven't said anything.
You got to be stupid to be improv. First thing that comes to your head, say it.
Poop!
Pizza! Cartoon fart noises.
So, while they were getting Allison, tied up the chair and getting makeup on her, I retreated to the living room, and I started thinking of all the shit that pissed me off. Because I have to be angry. I'm gonna have to yell at her. So I was just like, I kind of went into my hometown mentality. Like, everyone's racist, everyone's angry, and I was just like, I started just pumping myself up and just getting real nasty. And then it was time, and I went through without a hitch. Actually, I was actually kind of proud of myself that I didn't flub or anything. It was just one of those things where it's like once emotions took over, oh man, I was there.
And it's not like improv like yourself and like you're playing yourself. It's improv as I'm playing a Nazi with a certain voice, and it's not easy to improv in a voice that you're not typically doing.
Right.
There's a 3 or 4 voices I think most people can throw on right out but that voice I never really hear you do even as a joke. It was like a very serious kind of voice, and I don't think that'd be very easy to improv in actually.
That was and then I'm also the type of person, whatever character given, I always have to try and find a prop associated with that character. So, with Joe and Rip, I need a bucket. I need a spit bucket.
Yeah.
With that character in Snuff It, I actually went online and bought a copy of Mein Kampf.
Just to carry? What'd you do with it afterwards? Throw it away?
I think it resides in Dustin's basement unless he's
somewhere.
Thrown it away.
He probably threw it away with all the other
So
props.
I was probably already on some kind of FBI hit list once I ordered it.
Probably. You just kill anybody who buys any weird books.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a World War II history teacher. Now you're a dead World War II history teacher.
That's perfect.
It's like, they shoot 60 times.
So I was like, well, not only that, there was I knew there were some passages that would work. Because once I told Dustin, I was like, I bought a copy of Mein Kampf. And he was like, oh, dude, find passages in there, and like that way, like so you can recite them.
That's still one of the weirdest movies that Dustin made.
Yeah.
Like after watching it, I was like, I talked about stuff again with Dustin earlier when we had the interview. I was like, man, that's a weird one. I only watched it one time. It's so bizarre.
It is. I had to actually physically pee on a puppet.
The stuff you do for Dustin. Dustin can get anybody to do anything.
It's that
sure we don't want to kill this person for real, Dustin? I'm wearing gloves.
It's his smile.
I'll OJ this bitch. I'm just I should have said that.
You can edit that.
No editing.
Yeah, no editing.
No editing.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have your fingers dipped in a lot of stuff. It's like, I know that people are probably a little sad that you're not, like, in every movie that Dustin makes of a starring role anymore, but, you know, it's good to branch out. I know that a lot of people probably don't even know that you wrote the short in the Halloween Spookies, the middle short, where me and you were in.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, too, it's like, as a director, like, it's healthy for Dustin to explore with other people.
Oh, I
man.
agree.
Like, definitely go out, man.
Yeah.
Find anyone and everyone.
So many good actors that way, like Kayla and whatnot. They're great.
And you know, with like my wife Shirai and I, we will eventually be making a move to Florida.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, dude, get connections from everyone and everything. Go ahead and do it now.
You just have to Skype in. Shoot yours on a cell phone and send it in. That's always so crummy in movies. I hate doing like I wouldn't even do that. I don't think.
Yeah.
But you'll like see cell phone footage of like an actor from like a convention in like a room. He's like, oh no, it's an earthquake! It's the end of the world! And then it just like pops up in their movie. It's like, you're like, what the fuck is that?
But it's like even when I'm in Florida, I'm always gonna be like, I'm always gonna be helping you and Dustin do stuff. Like,
Yeah, you can always come up for a weekend or something.
That, or just even if all I can do is just send up a couple of bucks to like help with something or write something, you know, like I'm always gonna want to do that.
Send grouper sandwiches. They're cheap there.
But yeah, it's I don't want anyone to ever think that me not being in stuff is, you know, it's never been bad blood. It's just you know, there's other options I was wanting to pursue.
Oh yeah. Also, when you've wrote with Dustin before in movies, but like the first time you actually wrote something 100% your own was in Halloween Spookies, right? That actually got made into a movie.
No, actually, the first draft of Skinless we wrote together.
Yeah, but that partially got made. It never got completed, though, did it?
Well, I mean, it eventually became what it was. Yeah. Like we did this thing where like I wrote the first half and he wrote the second, I believe, or it was vice versa. I can't remember.
So what happened? What actually still from the original script is in there?
Well, I didn't research a lot of things, but
so
Dustin
just, like,
did.
Science stuff.
Like there were a few things I did, but Dustin was like, some of this don't make sense, and I was like, you're probably right.
That's what I wrote a script with a bunch of science shit in there, and I was like, the battery modulator. And like Jeremy's like, I hate fake science, especially when it's sloppy. I'm like,
but like there were some things I tried to research some of the things. Like I'm probably gonna butcher the pronunciation here, but the proboscis, I think it's called, the thing that comes out,
the parasite,
right? Like, I had originally written that in, but I didn't go deeper into why it would be incorporated into the research that Pete was doing.
Yeah.
He did all that. Like, we wrote it together, but he went in and did, like, a really clean revision.
Yeah, he's always good at building a thick mythology. So it's like, there's so many people out there that don't know any of the backstory. He knows all of it.
Right. And see, I do the same thing in my like, fictional writing.
Yeah.
Scripts, I'm all thinking about, like, the scene. I'm all thinking like, and then like this car does 100 flips in the air and then explodes and he comes out and he's got like a parachute and he flies down with machine guns and
double machine guns, and then that score comes in. You know the score.
That score, Dustin.
It's like that's Terminator, Brandon. Yeah, but we can get it because I know Brad. Brad's a personal friend of mine. Mate.
And see, that's why I think that's why I started gravitating so much towards fictional writing, because you can be as fucking big
as you can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want. And that's where that's why I don't think I would ever be successful in film. I can't reel it in. I can't be like, well, I only had $50, so maybe
I only got $50 in the Snickers. Hey, homeless guy, you want to hit yourself in the head with a hammer for $2?
Right. So it's like, I only got $50, so maybe the shootout scene on a subway does not work. But
maybe a shootout in a subway, no. over a sandwich from Subway.
I'll get some wheels and just stick them into a Subway sandwich.
Like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy the sandwich.
I think I'm just gonna get the sandwich and cry myself to sleep.
I get diarrhea because it's Subway.
But that's why I love film. I watch movies over and over. I like to watch movies to study, more so just dialogue and character for my own writings. But in terms of just like, I can't, for some, I just never could. I can't reel in a scene.
Well, you've had a couple that, you know, we had problems with. Like, they never got finished because of computer crash.
One, yeah. And then the other one is just, I realized I made it too big.
Which one was that? Actually, the Halloween short?
No, well, yeah, that one a little bit too, but that was the one where the computer took a poop. But the one I shot with Allison in the woods, that actually wasn't too big. I don't think I ever got around to it, just because I'm like, I'm terrible at this.
Give me the footage, I'll edit it.
It's long gone too. It went with the computer.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah, it all went, which sucks because like they could have been. They were good.
Yeah, and it's like the whole thing is like you don't know until you do it. Yeah. And I can't fully say that I 100% did anything in film because I never did. I never completed 100% things, so I don't know. But I can already tell just by handling a camera, trying to edit, I'm just like, this ain't for me,
It's stressful.
It's just not for me. I'm just even when the little bit of editing I did for the Halloween short, the Grave Robber short, the whole time as I was editing, I was like, I'd rather just write this. I'd rather just turn this into a short story.
But I had that feeling too when I shot the Slimy Little Bastards and I was editing, and the first edit I was like, this is so long. It was a 10-minute short.
Yeah.
But my first edit was like 22 minutes and it was missing stuff because I didn't know how to edit or do anything.
Yeah.
And Dustin was like, well, he just showed me a lot of tricks and whatnot, and I got a lot better at it. But at first, literally, I was like, I'm never doing this again. And every time I know it's coming to do another one, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this.
Right.
I don't want to do this, like, because it's just so much work. But like, I have to do it. Like at the same time, I don't want to say that. I want to do it. I have to do it.
Right.
But I also dread doing it because it's so much work and stress, and like I get stressed when I give a shit. So I'm like,
see, that's. Other than the stress part, that's how I am with writing. Like that's how to me, how a filmmaker's like, well, how can I make this scene work? To me, I'm like, how can I make this sentence work? And to me, sentences are like puzzle pieces. Yeah. And I just love trying to put them together, and I love trying to have fun with it, and it connects more to me.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of like, for like Stephen King, a lot of times, like I said, he explains, puts so much stuff in there.
Yeah.
But there's a line in The Stand, how he words this one scene that just made goosebumps go up my back.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the end of The Stand. But there's a scene in that when he says, Larry went and saw a movie about a glove killer, one of the many sequels. There would have been many more sequels after this if there wasn't a cough from the back row.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the fuck?
It's genius.
Yeah, that was just, the way he worded that line or something along those lines always just showed how well that was put together.
And it's like even authors I admire like H.P. Lovecraft, he's notoriously verbose, and he doesn't need to be. You know,
it's like an unfathomable creature of extremely scary measure. Not scary, but it like
under the gibbous moon. It's such an eldritch nature. It's like, dude. But I mean, what was so cool back then, and like Charles Dickens was notorious for.
Oh yeah, he's getting paid by the word.
Exactly, but you don't have that now.
No.
So it's like you can't really. If it's not needed,
cut it out.
Get it out.
That's what movies need to do, especially like these big like epic Marvel movies. Like this needs to go. Like at a comedy, if a comedy approaches the 2-hour mark, I'm like, can't make me laugh in an hour and 35 minutes. You're a motherfucker.
Yeah.
You're garbage. Like, dude, Wedding Crashers is nearly 2 hours.
I
mean, I don't hate Wedding Crashers. It's fun when I watched it, but like, I'll go back and watch like a classic comedy or a lot of movies that are like 85 minutes 100 times. Return of the Living Dead, 100 times. But a movie that's like 3 hours long, it may be great, it may be epic, but at certain times you're like, I just can't do it right now.
With movies today, and I understand why they're doing. You got to pertain to the foreign market as well.
Oh yeah, that's why. Because in China and India, like they want to go to a 4-hour movie because when they go outside, they can't breathe because there's so much freaking smog. Because when they run the factories, if it gets too hot, they're like close down day because it's so piss poor conditions there.
Or they just don't get to the movies as often as we can. So you have to incorporate. That's why Bollywood movies are like. That's why the first 5 minutes is a horror film, the next 5 minutes is a romance. It's because they don't get the movies much, so you got to put everything in
there. It's like a buffet.
Yeah.
But that shit's kind of funny to me. Like, eventually this is going to be like all these Chinese advertising things in our movies. You're like, what's that scene about? What's going on? It's just like whole scenes in Chinese and nobody even notices until pretty much they're just Chinese movies and we're just like, everybody speaks Chinese. That's what they want.
They're trying to pull us apart from the inside through our cinema. Hashtag make movies great again.
Hashtag keep movies in America. But there is that thing where like everybody complains like they're whitewashing the ice. It's like, well, what about all the English and Australian guys taking all the American jobs? Like they're coming over, they're playing Southern guys. There's a lot of Southern yokels and Americans that could play those jobs. Probably right, because like a lot of people be like so good, and like Tom Hardy, people like that knock it out of the park. People like Andrew Lincoln is like he's so freaking good. I'm like that dude's garbage.
Yeah,
he's not good.
Totally agree.
Like there's an American actor that could have took that job.
Or you think about all the movies like that were made that involved Germans and Nazis in World War II, and it's all British actors. It's like, what are you doing?
I've grown fond to that though, to be honest. But I like when the British actors do at least German accents, like or they speak in German, like Cross of Iron, like even James Colburn attempts a German accent. Can you imagine James Colburn?
What's he been in?
James Colburn's in Young Guns 2, The Great Escape, Hard Times, tons of stuff. You'd recognize him if you saw him. He's got a really memorable face and voice, but no, he's in the Cross of Iron, and he's like, I'll show you where the Iron Cross is, girl. He's actually, it's really weird. It's like almost Irish, but no, it's just cool. Like I like to see the English actors. He's not English, he's American, but actors try the German accent at least.
Right.
I think it's weird when they speak in British accents.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's quite a bit where they're like they have like whoever's playing Hitler, you know, they put on a British draw. It's like what?
Like Donald Pleasance would. I'm pretty sure he's probably played Nazis. He's played everybody. He's in everything, and he actually does the German accent though, because he's a good actor.
I bet he could.
I guarantee he can.
Have you seen Roman Polanski's Cul-de-sac?
No, is he in that?
Yeah, he's a fucking weirdo in that movie.
Dude, I just watched him in a movie called Soldier Blue, which will probably be in next week's video.
Yeah,
he's just a frontier movie. He pops up, just a weirdo, selling guns to Native Americans out of his thing, and he has all these messed up teeth. He's like, he's always singing songs. He's just, I think that, unfortunately, the Halloween movies have given Donald Pleasance like I don't want to say a bad rep because he's great in those. Yeah. But people think he's like, oh, just kind of a little weird, kind of like doctor. But Donald Pleasance played a weirdo, or like he could play anything. He's so broad. He could play a weirdo. He could play a straight guy. But when he plays a weirdo, he plays a freaking weirdo.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Well, he's Blomfield too.
Oh yeah, he's in Bondville.
Yeah, or is it
Blowfield? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with Bond. I just know his face and everything in that. But just a lot of stuff he always pops up in. He can be sympathetic, like The Great Escape, or he can be crazy, like I said, Soldier Blue.
Yeah.
Or he can be completely straight, like Raw Meat. So it's like he's just a really cool, good actor.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I was curious, what is a dream role you never got to play? Whether it be a cop, a serial killer, you know, something like that.
Like in micro budget level, or just in general?
Well, both micro budget and big budget.
Comic villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joker.
No.
Riddler. Firefly.
Hey. I don't know if there would be anyone specific. I don't know. Or like voice acting. I would love to be. I wish I had a better range with voices, because I would love to just fucking do cartoons. I would love the voice for cartoons. That would be amazing.
And lots of those like classic actors popped up. Like David Warner was a voice in Spider-Man.
Who do you do?
I think he was the guy with the half green face that always followed around Kingpin.
Huh.
He's one of those guys, like a scientist. Like all those guys pop up and stuff like that. All voices and whatnot.
Actually, you know what? It's always like the weird, like in Ninja Turtles, like Baxter Stockman, you know, like those types of characters who I would always imagine being like very, very quirky, like over the top, just like spilling out just colors and just exuberance, and that'd be so cool to do.
Well, you could do that in something like RoboCop too. Like all the bad guys are kind of quirky, and like Darkman. Like, have you ever read the novelization or the scripted Darkman? Like the characters have more quirks, like Smiley and I guess Nicholas Wirtz. That's what it kind of reminds me of. You're saying like they would be really quirky in comic book.
Yeah.
And, Nicholas Wirtz guy, Paulie. He's like drinking like Malax all the time, like because he's got an upset stomach. He's like in the book and stuff. It's just like they add these quirks and stuff, and that's exactly what I think you're like kind of talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'd want to be like Dick Tracy style character or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's tons, and there's already some I've got to play with Dustin, just those types. But I don't know. I think actually, and also I've never been asked that question before, so it was just like, oh wow, I just never thought of it actually either.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, as an actor, like I also have like roles that I'd want to play and shit like that. But
right.
So I think that. What is the best movie you've been in? Not your favorite role or anything. When you just like kind of trying to like objectively outside yourself and people what's a movie that you watch? I'm like, that's actually pretty good.
Invalid.
That's the one I always go to too. I'm like, oh, this is a pretty good movie.
For what we accomplished in that short amount of time.
And we had a lot of fun on that set.
Yeah, we did.
We made up, what was it, Cooler Case, or what was it? Literally, we came up with all these dumb ideas we were supposed to film. Oh my god, what was the one deal? It was Cabinet Head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's the final topic? You. We came up with this character that is a little creature. He's just a head inside a cabinet, and somebody brings him, like, people to feed him, and we thought it was the funniest thing ever, just to be a cabinet head.
And see, that's, like, to go to incorporate more in the last question you asked about, like, what character would I ever want to play, I think another reason why I don't really have an answer for that is because if you give me a role, even if it's something I've done before or haven't done, there's something about it I can enjoy. You know what I mean? There's something about it that I could try to like break down. What can I do different? What can I incorporate? And it's like there's never really, probably why I don't have an answer to that is because even when given a role like Invalid, I'm just sitting in a wheelchair. But there's so much you can do just by sitting in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? Like you can do a lot more than what it says on page.
And you had that flashback too.
Yeah.
That flashback too. So it's like you being silent all the time, and you have this character who's constantly afraid of you, and everybody's like, "Wow, he's just a vegetable sitting in a chair," and then it flashes back, and like, "Oh wow!" Yeah. Then you got to really put it on,
So I mean, like but at the same time, I want everything to be a cartoon. I would put cartoonish shit in things that, like, if I were to remake Schindler's List, Earthworm Jim would be the main character.
Just like a scene where it's like it just turns to like everybody playing piano, like that scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where they're playing against each other.
Or like Sam Raimi's Crime Wave. Oh my god, stupid movie.
How's that guy laugh? Brian James in that? That movie's so ridiculous. Brian James steals the show, though. See, movies like that, though, tend to have great moments throughout the whole thing, except, like, the lead character's a weak point. Like, everybody's great except the lead. That happens so much.
Oh, I know. Bruce Campbell should have been the lead, because, this is why...
Anybody but him.
This is why you don't put a camera in my hand, because I love the little shit of, like, where he's just like, hey there, baby. When you're like, like just sound effects. I'd put that shit in everything I would do.
You cried at the end of Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah.
We showed you, and me and Dustin are sitting there at the end when what's the troll's name? Trantor disappears, and it's like,
and it's just a little fart. It's like,
and me and Dustin are like, seen it 100 times. You start laughing. We're like,
it's perfect.
I looked over. I was like,
like rewind it.
Just the shit you find funny is so weird.
It's just it's always, man. Everything is just animated in here all the time, and it's where I'm the most happy. It's where I'm the most comfortable, and it's what I want everything I do to be involved with. Like when we did the short for Halloween Spookies, like when I wrote it, all I thought about was what if this was an episode of a show. You know what I mean? Like that's how I had treated it, and that's how I treat everything.
Well, there's lots of zany stuff, and the Halloween Spookies completely.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That movie's over the top as hell. In fact, the only one that probably isn't the least over the top is the first one, but that's over the top too.
Yeah.
The whole movie's supposed to be like that, though.
Exactly.
But it feels like it's somewhat grounded. Like, I don't want to use this comparison, but sometimes you'll see a movie like She Kills where everybody's like purposely acting bad, and I can't stand purposely acting bad.
She Kills?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the title.
But it does it on purpose, and it's just like I don't like the purposely bad acting. Like I think that you deliver it. Try to keep it grounded, but also over the top.
Yeah.
I mean,
or like just the insensitivity of like Sharknado.
Yeah, like I'm not into it.
I'm just like
insincere.
When you're trying, that's when the magic is lost.
Well, your movie that costs $10 is going to be bad enough, even if you try your hardest.
Right.
And it'll have unintentional humor. It's just what Sharknado's going for.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like going to be 110%, like, we don't really give a shit. Isn't this fun? Like, I talked about Dustin again. Like, I hate that snarky fucking attitude. Or
right.
As he would call it, celebration of failure.
Exactly.
I'm not into it. It's not my thing.
And see, that's what I want to try and do, and the things I want to write. Like, everything I'm going to write, you know, and it's probably going to be a hard market for me, just because everything I want to do is so against the norm.
Yeah.
But that's all I care about doing. Like, when you're reading a story of mine, I want you to just fucking bust a gut. But I want you to be like, whoa, that's a cool action scene as well.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
So you got a lot of eggs in a basket right now. You got the comic, you've been writing, and then you also have the radio show you want to do, right?
Trying to, yeah. If you know, it's not the immediate project. Yeah. It's something that can develop over time.
On the back burner.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. My actual goal is to I want to write for cartoons one day. That'd be awesome.
Since I asked Dustin, I'm going to ask you, Fulci or Argento?
Fulci, immediately.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your favorite Fulci?
Only because it's the first one I ever saw of him. I have to say House by the Cemetery.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You like Bob? Is the kid's name Bob?
Yeah. I know, Bobby!
I remember the one time I saw that scene where she gets pulled down the ladder and she hits her head on every step. I was just like, oh my God. That's horrible. It's like,
I think it's because it was one of the first movies, too, that had such a striking score in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a great score. You're just like, oh, this is great.
I don't think that was a Fabio Frizzi. It might be. I don't know. But it's also very heavily influenced by H.P. Lovecraft. It's actually based on one of his stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor in the basement and whatnot. I don't remember the story, actually. But you know what's funny is all these adaptations of Lovecraft that everybody's saying, like, Stuart Gordon's like, I love those movies. They're great. They're some of the most fun I've ever had, but they're not very Lovecraftian because like the sexual stuff. And Lovecraft almost is like asexual.
Exactly. Like, yeah, if Lovecraft was alive and he were to see like From Beyond or Reanimator today, he'd be like, oh, God.
He'd be like, I need to castrate myself. But stuff like Fulci stuff feels very Lovecraftian in ways to me.
Yeah, I can see
like
that.
Like the Beyond and City of the Living Dead and House by the Cemetery. That stuff really does to me.
Yeah.
Just that like, because his movies really a lot of times don't make any sense. It's like, well, we bricked up this well because something was weird in there, and 10 years later this asshole bricked it, and now everybody's turning into mutants. that's the kind of stuff he would write. It's just so weird. And scary because you know what the hell's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see why you like Fulci overall. I love them both, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to discredit Argento at all, but I couldn't tell you the last movie I saw of his.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Well, I also asked Dustin. I'll keep this a reoccurring thing. You know, some people always ask the same people questions, but what serial killer fascinates you the most?
Serial killer.
Yeah, I know it's out of the blue, but I'm just curious. Like, I know we don't like them, but they're just sometimes you're just like, what is? You just keep reading, you can't, like a truck accident or something.
H.H. Holmes.
Yeah?
Only because of that fucking twisted ass apartment he made.
The murder dungeon thing?
Like the castle of... murder castle, something like that.
I asked somebody at work that, and they said the same thing. Was H.H. Holmes. Are you excited for the movie?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm
interested to see what happens.
I think Leo's cast perfectly, to be honest.
I think it was a breeding ground. It was a perfect time for H.H. Holmes to exist.
Oh yeah, you can get away with anything.
Oh my God, dude! Like, the amount of people that he had to play with in Chicago,
and the insurance. You say play with like you're like they're actors and stuff. Like the amount of people he had to play with.
Well, that's insane. That house he created, man. It's It's just it's something that I think probably Saw franchise is heavily influenced off of him.
Abominable Dr. Phibes.
Yeah, exactly.
Was the Phantom of the Opera written before H.H. Holmes? Or not? I think before. Maybe.
Yeah, that's an old story.
I'm not 100% sure, but if you think that the Phantom of the Opera is that. Like, people don't realize that the Phantom of the Opera had a bunch of, like, super elaborate traps hidden. And that's all they were, is like death traps. And
right. Well, I mean, this was still what, like a good 4 or 5 years before World War I.
This is the 1890s?
I thought maybe like the age of around the Titanic. Like,
man, I can't remember. I want to say late 1890s, early 1900s, somewhere
Yeah,
on
I'm
that.
not sure.
I'm not 100% sure either. I just know at the time insurance was new and the bad guys were doing insurance fraud left and right. Bell Gunnis, H.H. Holmes, they were like, I don't know how he died, he just fell down, hit his head 68 times.
Yeah. I don't know, bad soup. Oh, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine just being the insurance guy like, oh, that's strange. Everybody just trusted everybody. To be a psychopath back in the 1800s would have been so glorious.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? You might be right, because this also was sort of around the same time as Jack the Ripper. And
yeah.
One of the documentaries I watched, people were like, well,
Nonsense.
it's a good thing we don't have a Jack the Ripper over here.
I thought you were saying that some people thought that Jack the Ripper and H.H. Holmes were the same guy. I was like, that's nonsense.
I've heard of that
That's
too.
nonsense. I heard Jack the Ripper was an alien and that he came down to collect scalps and human hearts to put in jars.
I heard he was the shooter on the grassy knoll.
I heard that Charles Whitman, Charles Stockworth, and Richard Speck, and who's the other Richard? Richard Ramirez and Richard Chase were all the same guy, reincarnated.
I heard he was the cameraman that filmed the fake moon landing.
A.K.A. Stanley Kubrick.
Kubrick.
That's right, Kubrick, not Kubrick.
Kubrick.
He was a culprit. Coincidence? I think not. That's what I hate conspiracy theories. They're so nonsense.
Yeah.
They just go everywhere. This ridiculous. You have anything else you want to plug? Anything else you want to say?
Let's see here.
No?
Nothing current, no.
No. Well, you got Rip coming out. You got Neon Doom coming out. You got Benny and Steve coming out. We didn't even talk about Benny and Steve.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
That was.
Me and you got to play opposite each other, being goofy and zany.
Yep, exactly.
What else did we got coming out that you're in? You got coming out?
Torment
3. You're in Torment 3.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I am.
How do you not know this?
Shit.
I know more about your acting career than you do. I should have done your interview for you. I'm like, then he was in this.
I totally forgot about that.
Did Dustin ever tell you about the interview he got one time years back where like somebody did not know who, like never saw any of his movies and just had a list and we're like, in 2012 you did him. Did he ever tell you about that? I so wanted to do it to him when I interviewed him. I was like, I wanted to pull out a piece of paper like, so in 2012 you made
No, actually, I am working on, there is something else I'm working on. It's, I'll go ahead and briefly mention it now. It's, I wanted to take short horror stories for kids, like involving kids or teenagers, and I'm going to turn it in. It's actually what's going to start. It's going to kickstart a Patreon I want to put together, but it's called Tales from the Toy Chest.
Yeah, I remember actually reading one of those. It's pretty cool.
And it's, think if you will, not so much Goosebumps, but the slightly more violent series Fright Time.
I remember Fright Time. I was again one of those things where I bought it solely on the cover and had hundreds of them. Like, this deck, never read one.
No?
No, I just bought them by cover and I just look at them like this.
They were slightly gorier, a little bit more violent, not to the point where it was extreme, but that's whatever the rating between PG, PG-13 would be.
PG-15?
Like,
oh, you mean like 12?
Y10.
Y10. Like, I'm trying to think of a show that would do it. Like Halloween Spookies?
But yeah, that's I'm not gonna release that until I think maybe the last week of September, right during the Halloween season.
That's awesome.
Is when I'm gonna release it, and it's gonna be what I'm gonna do is it's gonna release one once every 3 weeks. That'll be the show, and then for the next perk above, not only do you get the show, but there's gonna be a weekly podcast I'm gonna do. Probably end up being by myself, but I'm going to go through every kid's show and cartoon and review each episode.
Wow.
So I'm starting off with Are You Afraid of the Dark? And there's 91 episodes.
So that'll be 91 weeks.
Right.
You won't live that long. Then you got to go in Goosebumps?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I know, just to get it off the ground, we're going to do Erie, Indiana first. Yeah. Because it's only 20-something episodes, I think. So it's something as a starting point.
That's such a lost thing, is like scaring kids without like scaring kids. Like those branch horror movies, like Monster Squad and Little Monsters, and even like I love that kind of stuff growing up, and it's really what attached me to monsters and horror movies, and it's just like a lot of kids don't have it now. It's a shame.
That's what I'm hoping to try and like. I don't want to say bring back. I don't want to sound douchey. That's what I'm hoping to really like bring people in to have fun and almost like a remembrance of those books. Yeah. Those books don't exist much anymore.
No. Books don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't even read them. I just bought them.
Well, like you think of shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I used to love that show.
Like what exists now? Like what's current?
Netflix needs to pick up an original kids horror show. That would be so cool.
That'd be so cool if
Netflix.
like Tales from the Toy Chest became that. That'd be great. Like that's cool. I'm hoping to really bring in a big crowd with that. I just want it's me. I'm writing the stories. I'm narrating most of them. Sometimes I may bring like you or Dustin or whoever wants to narrate a story, and then the dialogue will actually be voice like recordings. So like the first story I sent you guys, like the kid will be voiced by me, and then the mother's by my wife Shariah.
That's cool.
So it's like, and then the intercom in the ride that comes on is like, "Hello, Space Cadet." Like that's all gonna be just.
And then you'll probably add maybe some like music and whatnot.
Yep. Sound effects.
I'm excited to hear it, because I really like that story. It felt like it did feel like that kind of scary, like except it wasn't as shellacky as Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because some of them are really shellacky.
And I don't ever want to what I want to do. I don't ever want it to feel cheap either. So like some stories, kids will die. Some kids will go missing and never be heard of again.
What was the first movie where you saw a kid dying?
I'm trying to think back. I'm sure it's probably even sooner, but the one I can think of right off the bat is Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
Yeah?
Yeah, where at the moment the kid like lifts his head up looking for his dad, a facehugger goes, and I'm like, oh, he's done.
Well, in Aliens, all those kids die and stuff earlier. They I don't know if they show them on screen, but
exactly
the whole LB-17, they're all dead, right?
I'm sure there's something much.
You know what
sooner.
mine is? The Blob, 1988 Blob.
Were kids in that?
The kid in the sewer. When they're running from the Blob, the kid gets grabbed by the Blob and he jumps back up, covered in it. And I was like, oh, he's gonna get out, and they sucked him back in. And I said, at that moment, I realized I was gonna die. Because of the Blob. And I was only like 10 when I saw that. That's the one that did it for me.
Interesting.
Or maybe like My Girl, but that's not a horror movie. And you get stung by bees and you're like, oh, bees. I think people killed bees after My Girl. Like, stupid bee.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't even see bees around. I think we killed all of them. Stupid My Girl.
But it's going to be essentially that. Like
that's awesome.
It's going to be an amalgamation of like horror, sci-fi, and some humor. Like there's one story I'm finishing up now. It's called Detention in Room 404, and it's about this kid who gets sent to this room that was a classroom, full of junk, newspapers to the ceilings, and that's where they keep kids to have detention. Falls asleep. He wakes up to hear screaming and shouting, and come to realize that all the pens and pencils are animated. And they're fighting. It's been a century-old war between pens and pencils. Who's the better utensil? And it's just like...
Well, it's obviously a pencil.
But it's like, kill the pencil, kill the pen. And he's like caught in this just epic war.
You had your medicine today.
No.
I'm just kidding. No, that sounds like something I would have read as a kid.
Yeah.
I actually haven't read any of that story. But it reminds me of like Battleground by Stephen King. I was going to make a joke and say he goes to the bathroom and there's a tiger in there. There's like a creature that is like really tall and looks like a long turd. And the willies.
Well, essentially the ending of that story is like he gets fed up because like the pens eventually think that he's like, the pencils have a new enemy, and the pen starts hacking the kid. And he just gets fed up and starts just like breaking the pens and pencils. And then the end of the story is the teacher comes in and it's just mayhem. And she's like, thinking that he did it.
And she's an alien?
Yes.
I think we're good. Unless you got anything else you want to plug.
No, man. I think pretty much good. I think I'm good. I just realized I gotta get going to the...
I was having a heart attack over here. I was pouring my heart and soul out. Leave me down here. Adios.
Adios.
We're not doing the same thing.
Oh.